Hey, amazing viewers! Before we go into this riveting narrative, drop your location in the comments below. We love connecting with you all around the world. Also, if this is your first time here, press the subscribe button and join our incredible journey. Let's hit 10,000 subscribers this month together. Your support means everything. A call that changed everything. It was a quiet afternoon in the dispatch center when the 911 line buzzed. Dispatcher Karen McAllister, a seasoned professional with over 15 years on the job, instinctively straightened in her seat as she answered. 911, what's your emergency? A small voice hesitated on the other end. Hi, my name is Lily, the child said softly. My mommy. She's been sleeping all day. Karen glanced at the clock. It was almost 3 p.m. A child home alone was always a red flag, but something about the way Lily spoke sent a chill down her spine. How old are you, sweetheart? She asked gently. I'm 6, Lily replied. Karen's fingers hovered over her keyboard as she took notes. Where do you live, Lily? The little girl rattled off an address in a quiet suburban neighborhood. My mommy won't wake up. She missed breakfast and lunch, Lily continued, her voice trembling. I tried shaking her, but she won't move. Karen's stomach twisted. A child that young wouldn't be calling unless something was seriously wrong. She tapped into the police database and pulled up the address. The house belonged to a single mother, Sophia Reynolds, age 28. Lily, honey, I'm sending help right now. Stay on the phone with me, okay? Karen motioned to her supervisor, signaling an urgent situation. Within seconds, an officer was dispatched. Is anyone else home with you? Karen asked. No, just me and Mommy, Lily whispered. And it's getting dark, but she won't wake up. Karen fought to keep her voice steady. Sweetheart, I want you to go stand by the front door, okay? The police will be there soon. Don't open it for anyone except them. Lily sniffled. Okay. A shocking discovery. Officer Daniel Carter and his partner, Officer Maria Lopez, arrived within minutes. The neighborhood was eerily quiet, with the setting sun casting long shadows across the suburban streets. The officers approached the small, modest home and knocked firmly. Lily, it's the police. Can you open the door? Carter called. There was a pause, then the door creaked open. A little girl with tangled blonde curls and tear-streaked cheeks stood there clutching a stuffed rabbit. Her big blue eyes were filled with fear. Hi, sweetheart, Maria said, crouching down to Lily's level. Can you take us to your mommy? Lily nodded, stepping aside. As soon as they entered, a musty, unnatural scent filled their noses. The living room was tidy but eerily silent. The officers exchanged glances before Lily led them toward a bedroom down the hall. Sophia Reynolds lay on the bed, completely still. Her chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths. On the nightstand were a few prescription bottles, a glass of water, and an overturned bottle of pills spilled across the floor. Maria's heart pounded. Daniel, call for an ambulance. Now. Carter was already on his radio. Dispatch, we need medical assistance immediately. Possible overdose. Adult female, unconscious but breathing. Maria knelt beside Sophia, shaking her gently. Ma'am, can you hear me? No response. She turned to Lily, who stood frozen in the doorway, gripping her stuffed rabbit. Lily, did Mommy take any medicine today? Lily nodded slowly. She takes those every night. But today, she didn't wake up. Carter and Maria shared a knowing look. This wasn't just a case of a mother oversleeping. This was something much worse. A mother's secret. Sophia was rushed to the hospital, where doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize her. As the paramedics wheeled her away, Lily clung to Maria, her small hands trembling. Is my mommy going to die? She asked in a whisper. Maria softened. We're doing everything we can to make sure she's okay, sweetheart. Lily's lip quivered. I don't want to be alone. Maria took a deep breath. "You're not alone, Lily. We're going to take care of you." As the officers waited for Child Protective Services to arrive, Carter sat with Lily in the living room. He noticed a family photo on the wall. Sophia and Lily, smiling at a park. "Your mom loves you a lot, doesn't she?" Carter said gently. Lily nodded. "She says I'm her whole world." Carter's heart clenched. He had seen many cases in his career, but something about this one hit different. There was more to this story, and he intended to find out what. Unraveling the truth. Lily sat on the couch, her little hand still gripping her stuffed rabbit, staring blankly at the police officers as they spoke in hushed tones. The flashing red and blue lights from the ambulance outside flickered through the living room window, casting eerie patterns on the walls. Her mother had just been taken away, and for the first time in her young life, she felt utterly alone. Officer Maria Lopes knelt beside her. "Lily, sweetheart, do you have any family nearby? Maybe an aunt or a grandparent we can call?" Lily shook her head. "It's just me and Mommy," she murmured. The heavy silence filled the room. Officer Daniel Carter, standing by the doorway, let out a quiet sigh. They both knew what this meant. Child Protective Services would have to step in. But something about Lily's innocent face, her eyes filled with unspoken pain, made this case feel different. Carter sat down across from her. "Lily, do you know if your mommy has been feeling sick lately?" Lily hesitated. She hugged her rabbit tighter. "She gets really tired. And sometimes she cries when she thinks I'm sleeping." Maria and Carter exchanged glances. "She cries?" Maria asked softly. "Did she ever tell you why?" Lily fidgeted with the ear of her stuffed rabbit. "She said she's trying really hard to be happy. But sometimes it's hard." Carter felt his stomach twist. He had responded to countless cases of overdoses, but this didn't seem like a simple case of addiction. There was something deeper here. He turned to Maria and said quietly, "We need to know what kind of medication she was taking." Maria nodded. "Let me check her room again." As Maria disappeared down the hallway, Carter stayed with Lily. He leaned forward slightly. "Sweetheart, do you remember the last time your mommy was happy?" Lily blinked up at him. "On my birthday. She made me pancakes with a big smiley face. She danced in the kitchen with me." But then, Lily's tiny shoulders slumped. She got a call and locked herself in the bathroom. When she came out, she wasn't happy anymore. Carter frowned. "Do you know who called her?" Lily shook her head, but she was sad for days. Maria returned, holding up several prescription bottles. Antidepressants, painkillers, and one of these is a medication for severe nerve pain. She flipped the bottle to read the label. "Prescribed 6 months ago." Carter rubbed his jaw. "Nerve pain." Maria's brows furrowed. There's something more going on here. A knock at the door interrupted them. A woman in her 40s stepped in, carrying a clipboard and wearing a warm but firm expression. It was Nancy Collins, a caseworker from Child Protective Services. "I'll take it from here," she said with a small smile at Lily. "Sweetie, I'm here to make sure you're safe, okay?" Lily's lips trembled. "But I just want my mommy." Nancy crouched down to her level. "I know, honey. We're going to help her. But while she's in the hospital, we need to find a safe place for you to stay." Maria gently placed a hand on Carter's arm as they stepped aside. "Something's not right. That woman is clearly struggling with more than just medication. What if we're missing something?" Carter nodded. "We need to talk to the hospital. Maybe Sophia's condition isn't what it seems." The hospital revelation. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sophia Reynolds slowly regained consciousness. The bright fluorescent lights above her burned into her vision as the muffled sounds of machines beeping filled her ears. She blinked, feeling groggy, her mouth dry. A nurse appeared beside her, adjusting the IV. "Ms. Reynolds, can you hear me?" Sophia tried to speak, but her throat felt raw. She swallowed painfully before whispering, "Lily, she's safe," the nurse assured her. "The police found her." She's with social services right now. Panic flashed across Sophia's face. No, no, she needs me. She tried to sit up, but her limbs felt weak, uncooperative. A doctor entered the room, a middle-aged man with kind eyes. Ms. Reynolds, I'm Dr. Patel. You've had a severe reaction to your medication. Do you remember taking anything before you lost consciousness? Sophia squeezed her eyes shut, trying to remember. I took my usual pills, but I felt dizzy. My head was hurting so bad. I thought, maybe I just needed to sleep it off. Dr. Patel exchanged a glance with the nurse before flipping through her chart. Sophia, when was the last time you had a full checkup? Sophia hesitated. I don't remember. The doctor sighed. Your medical history shows you were prescribed pain medication for chronic nerve pain. Have you been experiencing worsening symptoms? Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. It's been getting worse. Some days, I can't even get out of bed. Dr. Patel nodded knowingly. I'm ordering further tests. I have a suspicion, but I need to confirm it. Sophia looked up at him, her hands trembling. What are you saying? Dr. Patel hesitated. Then, in a gentle voice, he said, Sophia, I believe you may have an undiagnosed neurological disorder. Sophia's breath hitched. What? He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We need to run scans. But from your symptoms and the medication history, there's a chance you've been battling something much bigger than just chronic pain. Sophia felt the world spin around her. All this time, she had thought she was simply exhausted, depressed, overwhelmed with life. But now, a terrifying realization crept into her mind. What if she had been sick all along? And worse, what if Lily had been watching her mother slowly fall apart without anyone realizing what was really happening? Tears streamed down her cheeks. I just want to take care of my daughter. Dr. Patel gave her a small, kind smile. Then let's figure this out together. A mother's silent battle. Sophia lay awake in the dimly lit hospital room, staring at the ceiling. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound breaking the eerie silence. Sleep was impossible. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear, confusion, and guilt. Her baby girl, her sweet Lily, was somewhere without her tonight. The thought crushed her. She had spent every day fighting to be a good mother, pushing through the pain, the exhaustion, the overwhelming fog that clouded her mind. And yet here she was, alone, hooked up to machines, while Lily was in the hands of strangers. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, I'm so sorry, baby. She had always been exhausted, but she had told herself it was just life. Being a single mother was hard, struggling to pay bills, balancing work and motherhood, and the constant, nagging pain. It had all felt like an endless battle. But now, the doctor's words echoed in her head. There's a chance you've been battling something much bigger than just chronic pain. A shiver ran down her spine. A knock at the door interrupted her spiraling thoughts. Dr. Patel stepped in, holding a clipboard, his face unreadable. Sophia's stomach clenched. Do you have my results? Dr. Patel sighed and pulled a chair close to her bed. We ran extensive tests based on your symptoms, medication history, and previous reports. Sophia, you have multiple sclerosis. The words landed like a physical blow. Her lips parted, but no words came. She had heard of MS before, a disease where the body's immune system attacked its own nerves, causing pain, fatigue, weakness, and eventually loss of mobility. Dr. Patel continued, his voice calm but firm. It explains everything. The nerve pain, the exhaustion, the cognitive fog. Your body has been fighting this for a long time, but without treatment, it's been getting worse. Sophia's hands trembled as she gripped the blanket. What? What does this mean for me? It means we have a path forward. MS isn't curable, but it's treatable. With the right medication, therapy, and lifestyle adjustments, we can help you regain control of your life. Sophia let out a shaky breath. My daughter. Dr. Patel nodded. That's what I want to talk to you about. Sophia, you've been doing this alone for too long. This disease, it's not something you can fight on your own. You need support." She bit her lip. She had always prided herself on being strong, on never asking for help. But had that strength blinded her to the fact that she was drowning? "I don't have anyone," she admitted. "No family, no close friends. It's just me and Lily." Dr. Patel studied her for a moment before saying gently, "It doesn't have to be just you anymore." A child's plea for her mother. Meanwhile, at the Child Protective Services office, Lily sat in a chair that was too big for her, hugging her stuffed rabbit so tightly that it seemed stretched. Her legs dangled off the edge, her sneakers barely brushing the floor. Nancy Collins, the caseworker, sat across from her. "Sweetheart, I know this is scary, but we just want to make sure you're safe." Lily sniffled. "I don't need a new home. I just need my mommy." Nancy's heart ached at the child's quiet plea. "Your mommy is in the hospital, and she's very sick. Right now, we just need to make sure you have a safe place to stay until she's better." Lily shook her head, her voice rising in panic. "But she will get better. She always gets better. She just needs me." Nancy sighed. She had seen many children in situations like this. Some afraid, some angry, some resigned to the system. But Lily was different. She wasn't just a scared little girl. She was a fighter. "Lily, honey, I promise we'll do everything we can to help your mommy," Nancy said softly. "But we need to be sure she can take care of you when she comes home." Lily's lip quivered. "She can. She always does." Nancy hesitated before saying, "What if we found a way to help her together?" Lily blinked up at her. "Together?" "Yes," Nancy said gently. "If we can make sure she gets the help she needs, then maybe we can get you back home sooner." Lily clung to that hope like a lifeline. An unexpected visitor. 2 days later, Sophia was still in the hospital, feeling weaker than ever, not just physically, but emotionally. The weight of her diagnosis, the fear of losing Lily, the uncertainty of the future, it all pressed down on her like an unbearable force. Then, just as she was slipping into another round of despair, there was a knock at her door. When the door opened, her breath caught. Lily stood there, her tiny hands clenched, her eyes shining with determination. And beside her was Nancy Collins. Tears sprang to Sophia's eyes. "Lily." Before she could react, Lily ran to the hospital bed and threw her arms around her mother. "Mommy, I was so scared." Sophia held her daughter tightly, pressing her lips to her hair, breathing in the scent of childhood innocence and love. "I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." Nancy gave them a moment before speaking. "Sophia, I've spoken with your doctor. I know what you're facing, and I want to help." Sophia wiped her eyes. What do you mean?" Nancy took a seat. "The system isn't just about taking children away. It's also about keeping families together. If you're willing to accept help, real help, then we can work something out." Sophia felt a flicker of hope. "What kind of help?" Nancy smiled. "A rehabilitation program, financial assistance, a home health aide to help you on bad days. And most importantly, a plan to make sure Lily stays with you." Sophia's breath hitched. I don't know if I deserve that." Nancy reached for her hand. "You do. And Lily believes in you. So do we." Sophia's gaze dropped to her daughter, who was looking up at her with unwavering love. For the first time in a long time, Sophia let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't alone in this fight. The strength to begin again. The hospital smelled of antiseptic and quiet despair, 2 things Sophia had grown accustomed to over the past few days. But today felt different. Today, there was something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. She sat in her hospital bed, staring at her reflection in the small mirror mounted on the wall. Her skin was pale, her eyes tired. The weight of her diagnosis still sat heavy on her chest, but something else stirred beneath it. the determination not to let this be the end of her story. A gentle knock on the door broke her thoughts. "Come in," she said, her voice still hoarse from exhaustion. The door opened, and in walked Nancy Collins, the caseworker, with a man beside her. He was tall, middle-aged, and dressed in a neat suit. His presence commanded a quiet authority, but his face was kind. "Sophia," Nancy greeted, stepping closer. "This is James Holloway. He's the director of the Family Support Program." Sophia hesitated. The words family support made her uneasy. Was this another way of saying, "We're going to take your daughter"? James extended his hand. "Ms. Reynolds, it's nice to meet you. I know this has been a difficult time for you, and I want to start by saying that we're not here to take Lily away from you." Sophia's shoulders sagged with relief, but she remained cautious. "Then, why are you here?" Nancy took a seat beside her. "Because we believe in second chances. We believe that struggling doesn't mean failing. And we believe that Lily belongs with her mother, as long as her mother gets the support she needs." Sophia swallowed hard. What kind of support? James sat down across from her. "A rehabilitation plan. Not just medical treatment, but a structured program to help you adjust to your diagnosis. That includes financial aid, a part-time caregiver to assist you on difficult days, and employment assistance so you can work within your ability. It's a full-circle support system designed to help single parents like you stay with their children instead of losing them to the system." Sophia blinked in shock. You'd do all that?" James nodded. "If you're willing to commit to it." Sophia hesitated. For years, she had done everything alone. Every night she had laid awake, worrying about bills, about Lily's future, about how much longer she could hold on. The idea of someone stepping in, of help, felt foreign. But then she thought of Lily, her sweet daughter who had never once complained, who had taken on responsibilities no child should have to bear. And she knew. She had to do this. For Lily. For herself. She took a deep breath and looked up at James. "Okay, what do I have to do?" A new beginning. The first step was the hardest. After being discharged from the hospital, Sophia was enrolled in an outpatient rehabilitation program designed to help her manage her illness. She met with specialists who explained the importance of medication, physical therapy, and stress management. She was also introduced to a support group, a collection of people, young and old, who were also battling multiple sclerosis. At first, she resisted the idea of sharing her struggles with strangers. But then she met Emily, a woman in her 30s who had been diagnosed years ago. Emily had 2 kids of her own and had once felt the same hopelessness Sophia was drowning in. "You feel like a burden, don't you?" Emily had said during their first conversation. Sophia had swallowed hard. "Yeah." Emily had smiled knowingly. "I did too. But here's the thing. Our kids don't see us as burdens. They see us as mom. And the strongest thing we can do for them is show them that we're fighting." That conversation stayed with her. Lily's strength. While Sophia worked on her recovery, Lily was temporarily placed in a foster care program, but she wasn't far. Nancy had ensured that Lily stayed in the same town, with a kind elderly woman named Miss Evelyn, who had spent decades fostering children. Lily had cried the first night, but she never stopped believing in her mother. And every visit, twice a week, Lily made sure Sophia knew that. "I'm counting the days, Mommy," Lily said one afternoon, gripping her mother's hand in the park where they met for their visitations. Sophia smiled, brushing a stray curl from her daughter's face. "Me too, baby. Me too." "Are you getting better?" Lily asked, her eyes filled with hope. Sophia's chest tightened. She wasn't magically healed. She would never be cured. But she was learning. She was getting stronger. "Yes," she said firmly. "I am." Lily's face lit up. "Then soon, we can go home." Sophia swallowed the lump in her throat. "Yes, sweetheart. Soon." She wasn't going to let Lily down. Not this time. The final test. 3 months later, Sophia sat in a meeting room at the family support center, her heart pounding. Across from her sat Nancy, James, and a legal representative. This was it, the moment she had been working for. "Sophia," James began, "you've done everything we've asked of you. You've attended every therapy session, followed your treatment plan, and shown an unwavering commitment to improving your life. For yourself and for Lily." Nancy smiled. "It's time to go home." Sophia's breath hitched. She had imagined this moment over and over again, but hearing the words made it real. "Thank you," she whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. "Thank you so much." James leaned forward. "You fought for this, Sophia. You earned it." The homecoming. The day Lily came home was the brightest day Sophia had seen in years. She had cleaned the small house from top to bottom, not that it had ever been dirty, just neglected. Now, it smelled like fresh linen and lavender, the curtains were pulled back to let in the sunlight, and a homemade "Welcome Home Lily" sign hung in the living room. When the door opened and Lily rushed in, Sophia knelt down just in time to catch her in her arms. "Mommy." Tears spilled down Sophia's cheeks as she hugged her baby girl tight. "Welcome home, sweetheart." Lily pulled back, beaming. "Are we going to be okay now?" Sophia wiped her tears and smiled. "Yes, baby. We are." A story of strength and hope. Sophia still had bad days. Some mornings, her body ached, and she needed to rest longer than she wanted to. Some nights, the worry still crept in. But now, she wasn't alone. She had a support system. She had learned how to ask for help. And most importantly, she had Lily, her reason for never giving up. One small phone call from a little girl had changed everything. And that call had not only saved her mother's life, it had given them both a second chance. The road ahead. Sophia woke up before dawn, something she hadn't done in a long time. There was no alarm clock blaring, no urgent cries from Lily's room, just the quiet hum of the early morning world, a stillness she had come to appreciate. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt normal, not cured, not perfect, but present. She rolled onto her side and took a deep breath, her body still stiff, but no longer weighed down by the unbearable exhaustion that had once ruled her days. The months of therapy, medications, and adjustments had done their work. She wasn't the woman she had been before, but she was someone stronger, someone who had learned to fight differently. The faint creak of her bedroom door opening made her smile. "Mommy," Lily's small voice whispered. Sophia turned toward the doorway, where her daughter stood in her bunny pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit by one ear. "Come here, baby," Sophia said softly, opening her arms. Lily didn't hesitate. She climbed onto the bed and snuggled into her mother's warmth. "Are you happy today?" the little girl asked, tracing circles on her mother's arm. Sophia smiled, pressing a kiss to her daughter's forehead. "Yes, sweetheart. Today, I'm very happy." Rebuilding a life. The road to recovery wasn't a straight path. There were still days when Sophia struggled, moments when the weight of her illness made her legs weak or her fingers tremble. But now, she didn't hide it. She didn't pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. She had learned to accept help. The part-time caregiver assigned by the family support program came by 3 days a week to help with household tasks. At first, it had felt like admitting defeat, but now, Sophia saw it differently. It wasn't about giving up control. It was about gaining strength in the right places. She had also started working again, part-time, as a remote administrative assistant. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, and it allowed her to provide for Lily while still taking care of her health. She even found time to visit her support group every week, where she had become an unexpected source of inspiration for others. "You give me hope," Emily told her one afternoon after their session. "Knowing that you fought so hard for your daughter, it makes me feel like I can do this too." Sophia had only smiled. "We can do this together." Lily's first day back at school. If there was one thing Sophia had learned through all of this, it was how deeply Lily had carried the weight of their struggles. Her daughter had spent so long worrying about her, acting older than she should have, that Sophia wanted to give her something she hadn't had in a long time, the chance to just be a kid. So when Lily's first day back at school arrived, Sophia made sure it was special. She woke up early to make pancakes, the same ones with a big smiley face that Lily had loved so much before everything fell apart. When Lily walked into the kitchen and saw the plate waiting for her, her eyes lit up. Pancakes, she gasped, running to the table, with strawberries and whipped cream. Sophia laughed. Of course. Lily took a big bite and hummed in delight. "Mommy, you haven't made these in forever." "I know," Sophia said, brushing a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. "I'm sorry, baby. But I promise, I'm going to make a lot more of them from now on." Lily beamed. Later that morning, as they arrived at the school gates, Sophia knelt down and straightened Lily's backpack. "You're going to have a great day," she said. Lily hesitated for the first time. "But what if you need me?" Sophia cupped her daughter's face. "Sweetheart, I will always need you. But I want you to have fun, to play, to learn. You don't have to take care of me anymore, okay?" Lily looked at her mother for a long moment before finally nodding. "Okay." And then, with a small wave, she turned and ran toward the school doors. Sophia watched her go, feeling her heart swell with a mix of pride and bittersweet relief. They had come so far. They had survived. And now they were living again, paying it forward. A few months later, Sophia found herself at the same park where she had once met Lily during their supervised visitations. This time, she wasn't there as a desperate mother fighting for her daughter. She was there to meet someone else's daughter. Nancy Collins had reached out, asking if Sophia would be willing to talk to another struggling single mother who had just been diagnosed with an illness. "She's where you were 6 months ago," Nancy had explained. "Scared, alone, thinking she has no way out." Sophia didn't hesitate. Now, as she sat on a park bench, watching a nervous young woman approach, she saw herself in her, tired, scared, and feeling like the world had turned against her. Sophia stood and extended her hand. "I'm Sophia," she said warmly, "and I promise, you're not alone." The woman's eyes filled with tears as she grasped Sophia's hand, clinging to it like a lifeline. And just like that, the cycle of hope continued. A new chapter. That night, Sophia sat by the window, watching Lily sleep. Her daughter was safe. Her home was warm. Her heart, for the first time in years, was at peace. She still had battles ahead, she knew that. But she also knew something now that she hadn't before. She wasn't weak. She wasn't broken. She wasn't alone. And no matter what came next, she would face it. With strength, with hope, and with Lily by her side. A light that never goes out. The house was quiet, filled with the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional rustling of wind outside. The world outside was moving fast, but inside this small home, time felt slower, more intentional. Sophia sat at the kitchen table, a steaming cup of tea in her hands, watching as Lily colored a picture with deep concentration. The scene before her was something she had once taken for granted. A quiet evening, her daughter safe at home. A moment of peace. But now she cherished it. Every little detail. Lily's tiny hands smudged with crayons, the soft glow of the lamp, the distant laughter of neighbors outside, felt like a gift. A reminder that she had fought for this life, that she had clawed her way out of the darkness. Lily suddenly looked up, eyes bright with excitement. "Mommy, look." She held up her drawing. A big house with a garden, a sun shining in the corner, and 2 stick figures standing side by side. One was clearly Lily. The other was Sophia, with a smile stretching from ear to ear. Sophia's breath hitched. "You made me so pretty," she teased, trying to swallow the lump in her throat. "Because you are," Lily said with a grin. Then, After a pause, she added, "And because you're happy now." Sophia's fingers trembled slightly as she set down her tea. She was. For the first time in years, she truly was. The fight that changed everything. 6 months ago, Sophia had been drowning. She had been alone, lost, and convinced that she was too broken to fix. She had spent years pushing through pain, through exhaustion, believing that asking for help was the same as failing. She had almost lost everything because of that belief. But now she knew the truth. Strength wasn't about pretending you didn't need anyone. Strength was about knowing when to reach out. And she had. It hadn't been easy. Recovery was a war of small victories and hard days. There were moments of frustration, nights where she cried from the sheer weight of it all. There were times she wanted to give up, when the pain flared and she wondered if she was truly getting better. But Lily's face always brought her back. Her daughter's innocent, unwavering faith in her had been the one thing that kept her from falling apart. And because of that faith, she fought harder than she ever had before. She had learned to live differently. She had learned to manage her illness instead of being consumed by it. She had embraced support, therapy, medical treatments, even financial aid, without shame. And because of that, she had won. The first big step forward. It was a quiet Saturday morning when Sophia received the email. She had been sipping her coffee, scrolling through job listings, when her phone vibrated with a new notification. She tapped it open, reading the subject line. "Congratulations, you've been accepted into the work-from-home initiative for single parents." Sophia gasped. She scanned the email, barely believing what she was seeing. The program was designed to help parents with chronic illnesses find sustainable work, offering remote job training, flexible hours, and long-term employment opportunities. Her hands trembled as she reread the words. She had done it. A real job. Stability. A way to build a future for Lily. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Mommy." Lily's small voice broke through her thoughts. Sophia looked up, still in shock. She exhaled, really exhaled, for what felt like the first time in years. Then, with a smile stretching across her face, she said, "Sweetheart, I think we just got our second chance." Lily tilted her head. "For what?" Sophia wiped a tear from her cheek and pulled her daughter close. "For everything. The power of community." Months passed, and with each day, Sophia grew stronger, not just physically, but emotionally. She had joined a small community of mothers dealing with similar struggles, women who had been through the same battles, who had once felt as lost as she had. They met every Sunday, sitting together at a local cafe, sipping coffee and lifting each other up. 3 months ago, I thought my life was over, one of them admitted one afternoon. But seeing you, Sophia, seeing what you did for your daughter, it gave me hope. Sophia smiled softly, stirring her tea. It's not about doing it alone. It's about knowing that we don't have to. They all nodded because they understood. Once upon a time, Sophia had thought she was alone. Now she knew better. A promise for the future. One evening, as Sophia tucked Lily into bed, her daughter suddenly reached for her hand. "Mommy." "Yeah, baby." Lily hesitated, then whispered, "You're not gonna get sick again, right?" Sophia's heart clenched. She would have bad days. She would struggle. But she wasn't the same woman she had been before. This time, she was prepared. She kissed Lily's forehead. "I promise that no matter what happens, I'll always fight to be here for you." Lily smiled sleepily. "Good. 'Cause I love you too much." Sophia blinked away her tears. "I love you more." And as she turned off the light, watching Lily drift off to sleep, she made a silent vow to herself. She would never let fear control her life again. She would never let shame stop her from asking for help. She would never let pain take away her future. She had won this battle, and she would win every battle that came after. For Lily, for herself, for the life they had fought so hard to rebuild. The final lesson. The next morning, as the sun rose over their little home, Sophia stepped outside onto the porch. She inhaled deeply, feeling the crisp air fill her lungs. And for the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving. She was living. Because no matter how dark life had once been, no matter how lost she had felt, she had found her way back. And that light, the one that had almost gone out, it was burning brighter than ever. The unseen light. Years later, Sophia found herself standing at the same hospital where everything had changed. The same sterile walls, the same quiet halls, but she was here for a very different reason now. She adjusted her coat and took a deep breath before walking through the front doors, clutching a folder against her chest. Inside were the official documents confirming her new position, patient advocate for families battling chronic illnesses. She had come full circle. From a woman who once lay in a hospital bed, terrified of losing everything, to someone who now helped others find their way back from the darkness. She had learned that life wasn't about being perfect. It wasn't about never falling. It was about getting back up. Again and again. As she walked down the hallway, she passed a waiting room where a mother sat, her hands trembling, holding onto her sick child's small fingers. The look in her eyes was all too familiar. Fear, exhaustion, the quiet plea for someone to tell her that everything would be okay. Sophia stopped. She turned to the woman and sat beside her. "You're not alone," she said softly. "Whatever you're going through, I promise, it gets better." The woman blinked in surprise, then tears. "How do you know?" she whispered. Sophia smiled. "Because I've been where you are. And someone once told me that the light we think has gone out. It's still there. We just have to fight to see it again." The woman exhaled, as if she had been holding her breath for years. Sophia took her hand and squeezed it. And just like that, the cycle of hope began again. Because this was how change happened. One person, one story, one act of kindness at a time. A light that never dies. As Sophia stepped back outside, the crisp air kissed her cheeks. And then she heard it. A small voice, the one that had saved her life all those years ago. "Mommy." She turned. Lily, no longer a little girl but a bright-eyed teenager, was running toward her, her long hair flowing behind her, a notebook in her hands. "Guess what?" Lily panted, out of breath but beaming. "I got published." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Published?" Lily nodded, practically bouncing. "Remember the essay I wrote? About you? About everything we went through?" She flipped open the notebook, revealing a freshly printed magazine page. Sophia's eyes scanned the title. "The Night I Called 911 and Found the Strongest Woman I Know." Her breath caught in her throat. "You wrote about me," she whispered. Lily nodded. "Because you're my hero." Sophia pulled her daughter into a tight embrace, tears spilling onto her cheeks. For all the pain, all the battles, this moment, this was worth everything. She had survived. She had thrived. And now her daughter was carrying that story forward. Because sometimes the bravest thing a person could do wasn't winning every fight. It was simply choosing to keep going. And that choice had made all the difference. The end. But not really. Because stories like this never truly end. They live on in the people who refuse to give up. In the quiet acts of kindness that change lives. In the unseen light that never really goes out, no matter how dark it gets. A story that will be remembered forever. And with that, Sophia and Lily walked forward, side by side. Not as victims, not as survivors, but as two souls who had found their way back to the light. Together. This concludes the story. Thank you for watching until the end. I hope you found it enjoyable. If you did, please consider liking the video and sharing it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell for more captivating stories. Have a great day.